The Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Bill, which recently was passed by the lower house of the parliament, uh, although after a lot of delay, uh, has caused a lot of anxiety and debate in the public in general. So, kind of let's. I've been besieged with questions on how would it affect, what are the tenets of it, what is in it for the people at large, what is in it for the industry, etc. So, let's address a few of these key questions to start with. In the first place, why was there a need for a new bill? Uh, for those who are uninitiated, the last land acquisition bill was framed in the year 1894 by the Britishers, and it took us a good 118 years to come up with a new bill. Let's trace the history of this bill. The Britishers gave themselves unequivocal powers to usurp the landowner, to take hold of any land on the prices determined by themselves, and it continued till independence. Post independence, there were a few modifications here and there on the bill, but the basic issues of the bill related to rehabilitation, resettlement, fair compensation, forceful acquisition, etc., were not addressed. So, in that light, it's a good initiative or a bill that has been released now, which primarily addresses a few key questions related to forceful acquisition, the safeguards in this bill for the people or the landowner, and of course, willful and consenting sales of their land. Now, there are two basic questions that needs to be addressed concerning the private sector. We need to make a clear distinction between acquisition and purchase. The government has been in the habit of acquiring land, which would mean that they notify section 4, 6, 11, 17, whatever, after identifying a piece of land which they want for any developmental purpose. Now, the land was not always put to the same purpose for which it was acquired, but at some point in time, the government got greedy and started selling it to the private sector. Now, the distinction that we need to draw is when the private sector purchases the land, they determine a land value in conjunction or in discussion with the landowner, and a fair price is established, and then the private sector ends up purchasing the land and not acquiring the land. So this distinction should help us understand this law better. Because of the acquisition that the government did for many years, there have been instances, many in fact in the last 5 or 6 years, where multiple litigation reached as far as the highest court in the country. And the Supreme Court also did observe in one of this landmark judgment that the land acquisition bill almost became a fraud of sorts, and those who were elected to protect the rights of the Indians or of the landowners were the ones who themselves were usurping it. So in that light, the land acquisition bill adds two critical components in legislation, which is rehabilitation and resettlement. Now, there is debate within the industry as to whether it's a good bill or a bad bill. My personal opinion is every bill is good as long as it seeks to achieve the larger purpose. In this case, talking about acquiring land for public purpose with the consent of farmers, planning their rehabilitation and resettlement, especially because when we have to achieve a growth trajectory or a GDP growth in excess of 6 to 7% year after year for the next couple of decades, then we need a whole lot of land for development projects, whether it are dams, roads, bridges, etc. The private sector is scared that the tenets of this bill would hamper projects. There is fair merit in what the fear is, because the bill asks for 80% consent from landowners. It is talking about even those who are dependent on the land, whether they are tilling it or they run a small shop on it, to be included in the resettlement and rehabilitation of the bill. And the private sector is also worried about the retrospect effect